Have you ever wondered what lurks in the darkest corners of the internet? Here on Umbra, we uncover unexplained and mystical stories that leave more questions than answers. Today, we embark on a chilling journey through the mysterious tales of Reddit that will challenge your perception of reality. Get ready for stories that will send shivers down your spine, and join us in unraveling their secrets. The Witch's House.
My friends and I decided to spend the day in the attic of an old abandoned house that stood on the outskirts of our village. There was a legend about this house in our village for a long time. People believed that this house belonged to a witch who died a very painful death, and we decided to check this legend. Dusty chests, old furniture pieces, and the smell of time surrounded us. But what caught our attention the most was a large antique mirror covered in cracks and dust. We carefully wiped the dust off the mirror to get a closer look at it. At first our faces were reflected in it, but after a moment the images began to distort. It seemed as if the mirror were coming to life. Its surface trembled, and strange waves ran across it. Suddenly something terrible appeared in the depths of the mirror. The face of an old woman with withered skin, empty black eyes, and a sinister grin. Frightened, we stepped back, but the mirror began to make an eerie sound. The old woman's face became clearer and clearer, and she began to whisper something in an incomprehensible language. None of us could move out of fear, but when her image became clear, we realized we had to act. In a panic, my friend grabbed a heavy object and struck the mirror with force. It cracked, and at the same moment the old woman let out a piercing scream that echoed through the attic. Without waiting for anything more, we ran out of the house and never looked back. However, at night when I got home, I noticed something strange. When I went to the bathroom, I saw the silhouette of an old woman in the mirror. Her ominous figure would appear in the corner of my vision and disappear as soon as I tried to see her. My parents were not at home as they had gone to another city for work. I could no longer be alone with this horror. The next morning, my friends and I called, and it turned out that I was not the only one who saw this old woman in my house, so we decided to invite a priest to sanctify our houses. Each of us hoped it would stop the nightmares. The priest went through our houses, reciting prayers and sanctifying the mirrors, and indeed after that everything stopped. The old woman's image never appeared again, but somewhere in the back of my mind I always feel that she is still watching us.
Vengeance from beyond the grave.
In my teenage years, a situation happened to me that still makes my blood run cold in my veins. When I was 16 years old, I was interested in the occult and often spent time in a cemetery. The place didn't scare me. On the contrary, I felt a strange comfort there, as if it were my second home. One day, walking among the old graves, I came upon a particularly ancient and abandoned grave. My attention was caught by a beautiful gold medallion lying right on the tombstone. Without much thought, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I took the locket with me. At first, nothing strange happened, but after a few days, inexplicable things started happening in my apartment. Objects moved by themselves, doors opened and closed for no reason, and at night I heard footsteps as if someone invisible was walking around the apartment. At first, I thought someone had broken into the apartment and was moving my furniture. I called the police, and when they started to look around the apartment, suddenly a cupboard toppled over next to one of them, and the whole apartment became terribly cold. And one night, despite the light on, I fell asleep from exhaustion. I was awakened by an eerie sensation. Someone invisible started strangling me and scratching my flesh. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. Fear gripped my whole body, but soon it stopped. I couldn't sleep and wondered what I should do next, and then I remembered the locket. In despair, I realized that it was the cause of all these horrors that were happening to me. The next day, I returned the locket to the same spot in the cemetery where I had found it. From then on, the spirit's visits stopped. I was no longer haunted by footsteps or strange apparitions, and most importantly, the horror I had experienced was gone. Since then, I never take anything from the cemetery again, and I respect the peace of the dead. It is a lesson I have learned forever.
Someone behind the wall.
Today I want to share with you a story that still keeps me going. It happened a few months ago, and since then my life has changed. I live in a multi-story building on the 7th floor, and like most residents, I often use the elevator. It's routine, no big deal. I was coming home from work one night, and as luck would have it, the elevator was stuck on about the 4th floor. The light went out and I was left in the darkness, pressed the button to call the elevator, and began to wait. And then, after an hour and a half, I had a strange feeling, as if someone is near me. I looked around, there was no one there, but the feeling of fear was growing against my will, and I tried to calm down. And then I realized what was the matter. Someone was breathing in time with me. I was right, it was something in the elevator shaft, crawled from the top down to me after a couple of floors. I could tell by the sounds it was making. Its breathing stopped trying to imitate mine, and there was a hoarseness and a very muffled crackling. I could hear how this something was touching the wires, how the concrete was quietly tapping from touching it, and the metal structure, it was slowly coming down to me, and I was trapped in the box. How terrified I was, words cannot describe, from the fact that I couldn't get out, didn't know what it was. I was terrified looking at the vents because I knew it was there and I could feel it looking at me. Absolute silence. I was afraid to move and I couldn't believe it was happening to me and it was real. Then I heard footsteps in the entrance. It was the elevator operator. He took his time lifting me up, opened the doors and let me out of my confinement. My legs were shaking, my hands were shaking, I was dizzy, and the elevator operator asked me if I was all right. Since then, I've been going home on foot, and I try not to listen to the sounds in the entrance and stay away from the shaft doors.
Thank you for joining us on Umbra, where we explore hidden and mysterious truths. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on new mystical stories. Share your thoughts and your own unexplained experiences in the comments below. Until next time, remember, the truth is always out there, lurking in the shadows.